The Finding Purpose podcast is proudly brought to you by Relive the Moments, founded by visionary entrepreneur John Lim. We live in a world where it's easy to capture memories, but Relive the Moments makes it effortless to re-experience and share them. From NFC-enabled tap coasters and photo frames to interactive video cards, Relive the Moments turns everyday objects into unforgettable tap-to-experience keepsakes. Imagine gifting a wedding guest a coaster that instantly opens your highlight reel, or giving your event sponsors a custom frame that tells your story with just one tap. Whether you're celebrating a milestone, planning a wedding, honoring a legacy, or elevating a brand experience, Relive the Moments is the bridge between the past and present, between memory and connection. It's not just a product, it's an experience. Visit www.relivethemoments.com and use promo code PURPOSE for 25% off your first order. Let's bring your memories to life, one tap at a time.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Finding Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Adam Vora, and I'm so grateful to have you here. This podcast is all about exploring the journeys of incredible individuals, people who have faced adversity, found their purpose, and are now making an impact in their communities. But it's also about my journey. Over the years, I've faced my own obstacles, moments of doubt, and struggles with identity. Through it all, I found my purpose in giving back, creating a space where people can detach from the negative emotions and stigmas they may associate with their own stories, just like I did with mine. Here, we have real conversations about growth, resilience, and transformation. Whether you're searching for direction, striving for personal development, or simply looking for a place to feel seen and understood, this is for you. So if these conversations resonate with you, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social media. Now let's dive into today's episode.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Finding Purpose podcast. I'm Adam, and I appreciate you being here. Whether you're listening on Apple Podcasts or watching on the official YouTube channel of the Finding Purpose podcast, thank you for your continued support. If you haven't already, please subscribe, leave a review, and share. It truly helps us grow this purpose-driven community. Last week's episode with Roman the Realtor gave us an inside look at what it means to bet on yourself, build something from the ground up, and use business as a way to leave a legacy. If you missed it, be sure to go back and check that one out. Today's guest is someone I've come to deeply respect, not just for what he's built, but for the kind of human he is. John Lim is a visionary entrepreneur, inventor, and the founder of The Share Company, an impact-driven startup rooted in connection, creativity, and generosity. He successfully built 6 multi-million-dollar businesses across the U.S. and Europe, holds 15 active patents, and continues to innovate across industries from consumer products to digital platforms. He's also the creator and host of the Relive the Moments podcast, where he dives into the moments and milestones that shape who we are. But what makes John's story truly special is the heart behind it. As a proud single father of 3, he lives by the motto, sharing is caring. And that shows up in everything he does, from building companies to feeding hungry kids. This conversation is about purpose through innovation, impact through action, and the kind of leadership that leaves something behind. I'm proud to call him a friend, and even prouder to introduce him to all of you. John, he is also the sponsor of this podcast. I probably should have built that in there, which I'm grateful for because, like our friendship started, I don't even know. So welcome, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. But sponsorship is not a thing. It's just a thing that we do together because I like supporting your cause and getting to watch you interview people about finding their purpose and getting them to go deep is pretty impressive.
Well, I appreciate that, man. And it's funny because when I first met you was I think in this office, and then we kind of connected right away, man. And I just like the way you move. I like the way that you lead. But obviously, like you've had quite the journey. So maybe we could just talk about that. Like we can start kind of the early days of John Lim and really what was the foundation that sparked this entrepreneurial foundation.
Listen, man, it is quite a journey, and we only have an hour, so I don't think we can talk about it considering how old I am these days. I just turned 47, and it's the first year that I had a birthday that the number actually hit me. For no other reason other than a birthday's a birthday. I go into the new year, the new year's a new year, it's just another day. But somehow this year, 47 hit me like, damn, you're like your dad all of a sudden. Where I was no longer just this little kid playing around. No, you're a single dad, 3 kids, one's about to go to college. So like, it had me do a lot of reflection before this podcast. So to answer your question directly, where I started was my grandmother. So we grew up super poor. Let me take that back. We grew up poor, okay? Because there are people that live hand to mouth, and that's super poor, and I don't want to discredit them. We grew up poor. However, we never felt poor. You know, there was 4 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. I didn't realize how hard that was for my parents until I had kids. You know, I can only imagine, how do you have a marriage when your child is living in your room with you until they're 5 years old? So it's probably why my parents got separated.
You're one of 4?
From my parents,
Yeah.
from DNA parents, I am one of 4. Okay, it's me, it's an Irish twin, then another brother 2 years later, and then a daughter, sister 2 years after that.
Wow.
But my family's bigger than that. My dad has a son, my older brother, from another marriage, who's great, lives in Florida. And then we have our sister, our older sister, who was basically adopted by our family, who runs the world. She's one of the best people I've ever met in my entire life. So, but yeah, so it was my grandmother that started the entrepreneurial journey because I had to.
Yeah.
Right? Innovation is sparked out of need, I find often, or good innovation. For me, I wanted things.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy things. I wanted to have better food. I wanted to have more freedom. And the only way to have any of that was to go out and work. So we started a paper route when we were maybe
Where were
9
you?
or 10. I grew up in the Bronx.
Oh, in the Bronx, okay.
I grew up in the Bronx. I grew up on Cedric Avenue, the birth of hip hop. Okay, no arguments there. All right, shout out to Cedric Avenue. And we had like this courtyard, like 30 plus buildings or something like that. And my friend already had the paper out in the courtyard, which was easy because you get out of your building, walk around the courtyard, go to school. So I had to take the paper route that was like a mile away. So me and my grandmother, every morning, she worked for Alexander's, which is like Macy's, and had to take 2 buses to get to work. I had to walk to school, probably about a mile to school. But every day we get up in the morning, we'd walk a half mile to a mile, deliver all the papers, come back, change, get ready for school, have breakfast, and then I have to walk to school while she went to work. So that was at 9 or 10 years old where we had this paper route. And that's really probably where it started.
That's crazy. I didn't know you grew up in the Bronx, and I didn't know that that's what it was like growing up. I mean, obviously, you learn a lot in those early days. When was it that you were like, all right, I want something different for myself?
We were in a shoe store, sneaker store. My dad had a rule because there were so many kids. So I don't blame him. He worked 3 jobs. I barely saw him because when we were going to school, he was coming home from his other job. And we had a rule that the kids couldn't spend more than $50 on sneakers. So we're in the sneaker store. Okay, my brother, when he was born with a hole in his heart. So he always had trouble until about 7th grade when it closed. And we're in the store, and I had holes in my shoes often. I played a lot of sports, always outside. I hated being indoors. Get home from school, go play basketball, get out right away. So we're in the sneaker store, and my brother, who always had smaller feet, he had better sneakers because they were lower cost. I had the adult size. My dad bought a pair of sneakers one day for him. It was over $50. I got really upset about it, and I remember getting into a fight with my dad. We had to be 9, right, maybe 10, right before the paper route. And he's like, listen, I can't do it. And he gave me the excuse. Your brother has a hole in his heart. Okay, so there. And it hit me right there and then that the world we live in, no matter who it's from, right? God rest my dad's soul, but no matter who it's from, the world we live in is if you need something or want something, you got to go do it on your own. He refused to buy me the sneakers. My brother got a pair of sneakers. They probably were like $55. But I made such a big deal out of it. And virtually the next day, I tried to find a way to make money, and we opened the paper out. So that moment taught me, like, if you really want to get something that other people can't give you or won't give you, then the only way to get it is to work for it.
I love that. And, obviously having that ingrained in you at like 9 years old is a gift in itself. As you grew up, like, how did you use that mantra to really motivate you through like your teenage years and eventually when you jumped into the workforce? I mean, well, you already were in the workforce. You had a paper out.
Yeah. I feel like I've been an entrepreneur since birth, but I've always worked. As soon as you could have working papers. Most people won't know what working papers is who's watching this podcast. But in New York City, particularly, you needed working papers. You got your working papers at 13, I think. So the summer I turned 13, I was able to get working papers. It was the first thing I did on my birthday that year. Got the working papers, and I got a job at the Bronx Zoo. And I worked at the Bronx Zoo for a couple of summers. I always played a lot of sports. So for me, once I got the taste of freedom, okay, and the money gave me freedom. Right, it gave me my first taste of freedom. John, you want to buy a pair of sneakers that are more than $50? Make some money, go buy them. So the taste of freedom. Once I got it, I never let it go, and then I just learned the game. Right, life is one big game, and to learn the game of how to get more freedom was at that point to make more money. How to make more money was to literally spend more hours doing it because you got paid by the hour in that world. Until I got to high school, until I actually moved out of the Bronx, my parents. Still to this day, I feel it's child abuse. Sorry, Ma. I moved out of the Bronx when I was 16. Okay,
Where'd you move?
To as far in Westchester as you could go. Okay, most people know it in the Peekskill area, but the name of the town is called Cortlandt Manor.
Cortlandt Manor, yeah.
Okay, so here I am, from kindergarten to sophomore year of high school. I'm a Catholic school boy. Okay, I was an altar boy. I was shirt and tie every day for school. All of it till a junior year. Then in the junior year, they moved me to northern Westchester, where my first day of high school was like that movie Clueless. We had the jocks, we had the grunge, okay, we had the so-called minorities, which was mind-blowing to me, considering I grew up in a world that white people were the minority. Then we had the musics, the arts, all in just like that movie Clueless. And so when I got up there, I never had a senior year. I had 2 freshmen, 2 sophomore years. When I got up there, the game completely changed. Right. Being from the Bronx, we had an advantage. I had multiple brothers, an advantage. I played soccer, football for all my European fans, and my brother played football for all my American people. So we got to meet people before school started because you play in the summer. So when that happened, I then found that you can make money not just by hour, right? And that's when I opened up my next business, which was selling knockoff watches from Chinatown to northern Westchester high school kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah. No car.
How did that even run? Now I'm just like intrigued.
So the job I had in high school when I got up there was a buddy of mine, Pete McLeese. Shout out to Pete. He got me a job in the nursing home. So I worked in a nursing home on the cook line, and the nursing home was fascinating. Most of the people lived in the Bronx. So we had all sorts of amazing people that were there, right? My man Vic, best Jamaican person I've ever met in my life. I'd love to find him if I could. He taught me so many things about like life. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm a 16, 17-year-old kid, and these are grown adults. Mm-hmm. One of the nurses' aides, she sold me a watch. She opened up this nice case. It had a whole bunch of watches in there. Okay, this is when indigo blue light was big. You press the side of the watch, and the indigo blue was the biggest thing.
That.
Okay, Nike watches, Adidas watches, all these knockoffs. I bought the watch. Okay, it was $30. And where'd you get these things from? John, I got them from Chinatown. For whatever reason, my entire life, maybe it's the size of my ears, people like telling me things, and I love to listen. Right, my biggest education is humans.
Yeah.
Okay, my degree is in humans. Period. So she told me where she got them from. I asked if I can go down with her one day. She took me down to Chinatown. Okay, I went to the store that she went to. I made friends with the owner, and then I started selling watches to high school kids. Okay, $30 a watch, lifetime guarantee. By the way, if your watch broke or you didn't like it, bring it back, get a new one. So every weekend I'd go to Chinatown, spend $3.50 per watch, and sell it for $30, $35 throughout the week. And that's when I learned that the time, you didn't get paid by hour anymore, right? Now you can get paid by success. And the interesting part about it is I should have known that with the paper route. Like, I should have known it when you did the paper route where I didn't get paid per time. I got paid by how many doors I could knock on. But for whatever reason, I forgot that because you got into the workforce and the workforce trained you 9 to 5 per hour pay. And it caught me. It caught me for a bunch of years. And I got stuck as a mule in the workforce, if you will.
That's so funny. What did that experience, obviously led for you opening up your first company? I want to talk about, the first company that you opened and what that journey was like for you, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs do watch this podcast and listen to this podcast, and you're armed with a lot of experience that probably really helped you when you were in that process.
Yeah, that's Adam's way of calling me old, right? Experience at my age means you're old. So I take that. I agree. I am old these days, as my daughter would say. So the first actual company I opened up that was registered with the United States government, which I was super excited about, by the way, and then I recognized I had to pay taxes. And you're like, wait a minute, I didn't have to do that with the watches in high school, was a cell phone company. So the name of the company was called Global Telecom, and I was 19 years old. I had already worked in a cell phone kiosk. I learned the business. I worked 7 days a week. During holiday season, it was 7 days a week. Otherwise, it was 6 days a week in a cell phone kiosk in White Plains in the Galleria, and I was killing it. Okay, so this is 1997. Okay, so what we know today about mobile phones and smartphones, listen, we had old flip phones and the big Motorola's in that case. There was no smartphone yet.
The Nextels.
Right. There was no Nextel yet either. We weren't even anywhere near that dream of the Nextel and the push button walkie-talkies. Yeah. So I dropped out of the cell phone kiosk to sell cell phones. I did it door to door. Okay. I then dropped out of college. All right. To go do it. I still get a lot of flack from that from my kids, but I have created some good answers to why they need to go to college. So I dropped out of college to do it. I started selling cell phones door to door, literally. I started on my girlfriend's block at the time in the Bronx. I knocked on every door. Okay, I sold 15 phones. 16 phones because her dad bought one. Yeah. 16 phones on her block in the first weekend. And it just sparked fire. From there, I actually then became the top 5 cell phone dealer in New York City for AT&T in my entire region, because I had a cell phone kiosk inside of Computer City. Okay, if you don't know Computer City, it's where you bought computers from. Okay, you only bought computers from Computer City or CompUSA. There was no online computer shopping. That's how old I am. No online computer shopping. So I had a kiosk right there in Bryant Park, across street from Bryant Park, and I would sell hundreds of phones a month. I mean, I was selling phones to Puerto Rico, which I wasn't supposed to. Selling phones to Puerto Rico, 20 per weekend.
That's wild.
Wow, it was crazy being in Manhattan at that point.
How has that city grind kind of influenced the way that you move now?
I think it's the speed. I think when Alicia Keys talks about the concrete jungle, New York City is a concrete jungle. I used to pick the phones up in Mount Vernon. I used to drive my car to I think it was the D train, D04 train, I forget this, or on the Grand Concourse area, to get down to Bryant Park. I'd have boxes of phones, but because I didn't want to get mugged on the train, right? I have my so-called backpack. It wasn't a backpack. It was like a satchel type thing, right? Messenger bag, they call it. So I had the messenger bag over my neck. I couldn't stay awake. I literally hugged my boxes, okay? Straddled them, hugged them, and I slept like this on the actual phones, so no one would steal them until I got to the stop. That hustle and grind of surviving inside of the city, the Bronx, Manhattan for that matter, when I was doing it, it gave me the grit to get past everything. And I've been through a lot of shit in life and had to get a lot of grit to get through it. But that grind is I credit that grind to my grit.
Wow. So how did that business go afterwards? And then also along the way, I believe it was 6 businesses that you've started. From each of those experiences, obviously life's happening in the background. You do have 3 kids. How do you balance that? over the years?
Wow. So, all right, that's a loaded question.
It is.
All right. I've had more than 6 businesses. Okay, those 6 that you mentioned on the intro are those that have been successful. But I probably failed as many times as I succeeded. I failed.
Yeah.
To answer the first question, what happened to that business? I was going to be the largest cell phone dealer in the country. Okay, there was no direct stores. Computer City, okay, was going to basically what they did was, and I learned it from a guy inside. They'd buy me, then they have me go travel the country and go store by store by store. This is a very interesting story. So I'm 20 years old at the point, okay, and I look like I'm 16. The CEO of Computer City is coming into Manhattan. He wants to meet me to talk about the deal. He wants to go have a drink. He has no idea that I'm a 20-year-old kid, okay? I went around the corner to where we were going to have a drink to the bar every day for a week before he got there. I got to know the bartender. I told the bartender, listen, man, I'm 20 years old. I'm coming in here for a big business meeting. I'm going to make sure we sit at the bar. But I can't have a drink, okay? All right, I was a very honest kid. I can't have a drink. But if you serve me a drink, all right, I'm going to ask you for a vodka and club soda and just give me a club soda or something that looks like a drink, put it here in a rocks glass so he thinks I'm drinking, and do it. The guy thought I was nuts. I took $200. I tore it in half. I gave him half, and I kept half. I said, now you know I'm serious. I'll be here on Friday, okay? I'll give you the other half of these things because now they're useless until we put them together. Just act like I can drink. My man was phenomenal because I did that meeting. He kept pouring me drinks, right? Kept like behind the bar, looked at it that way. Long story short, CompUSA got bought out by Computer City. I was on top of the world, okay, one day, and then I got a phone call that I have 48 hours to get my kiosk that I spent tens of thousands of dollars on and all my equipment out of the store, otherwise it's owned by the liquidators. It was my first blow to like what people would call depression. Like I took that moment, took my stuff out, left the kiosk, didn't care about it, went down to the Jersey Shore, and I think I got drunk for 3 days straight. Right? I embarrassingly now, I remember I was drunk for probably 3 days straight because I remember having a Corona in the shower. I remember like we were getting ready to go out and whatever. Okay, we got to take a quick shower to get out, with the group that I was with. And I had my beer. All right, John, it's your time to shower. I didn't want to finish my beer, so I took the beer in the shower with me, which at this age, saying it now is a really sad thing to it's funny.
Yeah.
Because it happened and I got through it. But in that moment, it's sad. So that business went down. I ended up getting a job, my only adult job for about a year. Learned a new business, which I recommend to anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur. Get a job. Get a job first in the industry you want to do it in. Do it for a year, and then open your own business. So I kept moving on, opening different businesses in that scenario.
Well, really, it's like as you're opening these businesses and you're learning new industries. When did you feel like you were just like really living purposefully as an entrepreneur?
Okay, you asked me. All right, so living purposely and how do I manage it? I don't know that in the early days. I don't know in my 20s or my 30s. I ever thought I was living with a purpose when it comes to the business.
Yeah.
Right. Personal is different. It's interesting because when I coach my kids' basketball teams, young kids like to dribble. Okay, they get the ball in their hand. They just like to dribble. And I'd always tell them, listen, guys, dribble with a purpose. What is the purpose of putting the ball on the floor? Okay, is it to get around this guy? Okay, great. 3 dribbles, and then what? Are you shooting or passing? Okay, attack the basket. Don't just dribble to dribble. Dribble to get yourself in the passing lane or dribble to get yourself in the driving lane. So dribble with the purpose was my mantra for all of these kids from when they were 5 years old till probably till they got in high school when I stopped coaching. Dribble with the purpose. I think about it now. As a business person, I never thought about me having a personal purpose. When you open a business, okay, every business only has 2 purposes, in my opinion. One is to change the world. Okay, so you open a business to change the world, and that's like a Google. The other one is you open a business to change the world of the people in the business, which includes yourself. And for me, that means like I open a business to be as successful as I can, to make sure I can have as much freedom that allows me to live life, and the people that are helping me do it, because I've always had help me do it have that same kind of freedom, whatever it means to them. So the businesses that I've opened now are all meant to change the world of the people in them. I don't think when I was a kid I thought I was going to open a business that changed the world, and that never happened. So the businesses that I open up now or have opened are to help people find their time, right, and the freedom so they can enjoy their purpose in life.
Yeah.
Right? So again, from the business side, I don't think I ever thought about a good purpose. Today, I sit across from you with a very strong purpose. The share company, like I said, I mentioned I grew up from very humble beginnings. Okay, we had food stamps.
Yeah.
Right. My most embarrassing moment as a child was using food stamps because I was the only kid in the neighborhood that I hung out with. I'm sure there were others, but that I hung out with that had food stamps. So they have that saying like rags to riches. And I am nowhere near the riches by definition. My daughter would tell you right now, if she was here, my daddy is super rich. Oh, yeah? Is he? What does that mean to you, Maddie? He's rich in love, right? I told her that. So she'd always say that. And she's right. In that case, I am the wealthiest person on the planet, in my eyes. But these companies I have now, the share company that has a bunch of different brands, everything that we sell, we want to help others.
Yeah.
So we're donating a piece of every sale to No Kids Hungry, right? Because no kid should ever have to experience what I experienced. No kid should ever have to fight for a meal on that side of it. So today, at 47, this business now is about a year old, year in the making. I started this one with the purpose, ironically, where, to your question, I never had a purpose for the businesses other than making money, than being successful.
I mean, I think that's really interesting, and I love that you share the two different reasons behind starting a business: to change the world, and to change the world of the people who are involved. People obviously play a role in the internal workings of your business, but like throughout your life, what people did you look up to, or mentors that you had along the way that you really just leaned on?
So funny, I never had a mentor. I wish I did. As a true mentor by definition. I've had many people in life that have taught me things. Like I mentioned before, like Vic, my Jamaican friend. He taught me like how to be respectful to women. I credit that to my grandmother. I credit it to my mom. All the women in my life that taught me that. But he was the first man to teach me like, hey, John, here's how you got to talk about it that way. So along the way, I think I have a hodgepodge of beautiful international misfits that have taught me pieces, like you. Like I met you this year, right? So a couple of months ago, and we immediately hit it off. And you talked about this Lamborghini event you had. I didn't think much of it. Told you we have a good idea. We can do something with it. Great, we did it. And then I showed up the event, and I was like, wow. Like literally, I showed up the event, and I was blown away. I had zero expectations, not because I thought it was going to be good or it was going to be bad. I just didn't think about it. And once I went there, okay, with you and saw that, and then I thought back to a moment we had prior to that when we went on the private jet to meet with your other clients, it hit me like, yo, this dude he's a maniac. Like he can come in here, do these podcasts. He could have time to go out to meet the clients on the jet. He put together this event, and the event you put together was spectacular. And I'm saying these things because I get a piece of mentorship in the moment, not necessarily a mentor that I can lean on. So to really look at that question, my mentors are moments that were created for me by other people. You created a beautiful moment for me on the private jet. You created a beautiful moment for me at your events. And that allowed me to meet more people that I can learn from. Because all of my knowledge and all of my energy comes from different people.
Yeah. And, I agree with you in the sense that, like, sometimes you don't need to have a direct mentor where you are meeting with them once a week, or, they're just a phone call away and you can bounce ideas off them and they're giving you their wisdom. I mean, a lot of my mentors are people who I either see in the public sphere who are doing things that, I wish I was doing and I'm working towards doing. Or they're people like you who I see their resilience, You know, like I love resilient people. I usually lean towards resilient people because the ability to bounce back, you know, at any point in your life through any obstacle, that's just a beautiful thing. You know, and I think you show tremendous resilience, and you know, as you're embarking on this like journey, I want to lean a little bit into your personal life because I know fatherhood's like a huge important part of who you are as a man, and let's talk about that.
Okay. And I think when you asked me before, like the purpose of the business, and I never had one until now, personal life is completely different, right? Because as a dad, all right, I find that my purpose is to do everything that I can to give them a better chance at a successful life than I had. And that has little to do with money, okay? Because I think enabling is a parenthood trait that really screws kids up. It's hard to notice enabling. It's easy to notice neglect, right? You see a kid who's super skinny, he's neglected, hasn't had a lot of food. You see a kid who's beaten up, you can tell he's been beat by his parents. But enabling is how soft are we? How often do we let them get away with something? How much do we pay for something in those cases? So my kids are my driving force of my passion. If you, my eldest, Sebastian, who's 17, phenomenal basketball player. Anyone watching this who knows me and knows my passion for basketball would know that I would never admit this publicly, okay? And I get the irony of it being on the podcast. But my son, who's 17 now, I can't keep up with him. His basketball skills, and
Really?
I watched him the other day. He's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal player that if he wanted to go to college to play ball, he could. But he told me early on that he didn't, so I didn't push him. Right? It's not my life. I'm not trying to live my life through them. Okay? I lived an amazing life, ups and downs, but amazing life. I wouldn't change a thing because I wouldn't be sitting here with you today if I did. So Sebastian, who's 17, great basketball player, good head on his shoulders. I love watching him. I watched him play the other day. Nathaniel, who's 15, okay, the wild child. He should have his own YouTube channel already. I don't know why he doesn't. When you meet him, push him. Say, okay, listen, man, Uncle Adam said you should have a YouTube channel. He's great athlete. I love watching him play and watching him fight. He's got that grit that I was fearful they wouldn't have. And then there's Madeline, right, who would be mad at me right now for calling her Madeline because she likes to be called Maddie. And she's just the ball of energy that I lean on when I have none. See, I gain all of my energy from humans. So like if you're at your event, I got to connect with different, not even talk to people, just connect with different people's energy, and it just fills me up to be an abundance of energy so I can give that energy away. Right? My purpose is to give energy every day, not take it. And whenever I'm really, really low, I just got to give her a hug. And if I can't give her a hug, I just watch a video of her on my phone. And it immediately fills me up in a way that I can't explain as a proud girl dad. But it's what I wake up for every morning.
Something you just said that was really profound was I'm not trying to make him live out my my dream and my purpose. I think a lot of times you do see parents do that, where you know they see their kid that's good at something they wish that they had been, and they're pushing them in that direction despite maybe the wishes of their child. How do you feel like? How important is it not to do that? Because you know I think one of the underlying themes of this podcast is, you know, kind of breaking those generational like mistakes that we make, you know, and you know, kind of addressing like, hey, like, you know, I can't be this way because perhaps, you know, this is how it affected me, you know, from my childhood. Have you been able to kind of like, as a father, identify certain things that, you know, you would have wanted your parents to do differently and take it as a mission not to do that with your children?
Listen, I was blessed with the skill to learn what not to do.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of what not to do lessons from my parents, right? Which is painful to go through, but I had the skill to do that. So a lot of the things that I've learned in life were through pain, right? Through innovation or necessity, if you will, where innovation sparks. So it was super important for me and my kids to understand, like, it's not my life. Like, it's your life. You know, and listen, I've been divorced 7 years. So they haven't gone through a lot in these last 7 years. And it's important for them to know that, hey, I'm here to help. Okay, my son is 17. He's got one more year of high school. I look at it this way. He's got one more year of high school. I got one more year with him in the house. I have them every other week, so I'm a real single dad for 7 days a week. Okay, the other 7 days I see them after school, or I see them at their games, but for all my single parents out there, I will not discredit you by saying I'm a single dad every day, because when you're a single parent every single day, it's by far the hardest job. It's the hardest job any human has to go through that hopefully many people don't ever experience. But Sebastian has one more year with me, and then he has 4 years in college, and that's like his beta. So I'll be there to help and assist and guide and, maybe send some money here and there and do that. But then after that, he's on his own. You're not living in the house. You're not coming back home to get money. No, man. Here's your apartment. Here's your stuff. Go out in the real world and start your life. And I think it's extremely important for parents to recognize that we have our own life. Let them live theirs. So I never looked at my boys, and I can't even imagine how to live life through my daughter, because I was never a woman before. But the boys, at least, I was them, right? I came from a broken home. I played sports. I had disagreements with my mom and my dad because they weren't together. I felt pain early on. Like, I lived their lives.
Yeah.
So my job is to guide them in ways to have their own life and not live through them, but live with them.
Yeah.
So when my son shoots a jump shot, okay, I watched this game a couple of nights ago. When he shoots that jump shot, that mid-range jump shot, and I see him go up and do it, I live the energy with him and that experience, which I absolutely love that I can do. But it's his life. I'm not pushing him to go be a basketball player, right? I'm not telling him, hey, man, I can. A good friend of mine played for the NBA, Sean Kilpatrick. I could bring him to Sean every single day. Sean will teach him how to be a better basketball player. We definitely could have got him in D2, if not D1, if he decided to dedicate himself early on. But it wasn't his passion.
Yeah.
So it's not my job to make it my passion. So that, I think, is an extremely important thing. And I think, at least where I live in Westchester County, I find so many parents on the sideline trying to live their life through their kid. And you'll appreciate this. I take it down to one thing. We all have things in life that have happened to us. Okay?
Yeah.
So I am a 100% perfectly imperfect human. Matter of fact, the key to failure is trying to please everybody, and you can't be perfect. But if you don't heal your inner child, so if you think about it, we all get beat up as a kid. And I learned this about 15 years ago, that we have this inner child that we need to heal. And as soon as I healed my inner child, it allowed me to be a better parent.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that inner child. And, really that's the root of a lot of pain for people as adults. Quick break to shout out our sponsor, Relive the Moments. Founded by John Lim, they're redefining how we share memories. From tap-to-play photo frames to interactive coasters, they turn ordinary objects into powerful, shareable experiences. Perfect for weddings, events, or milestone moments. Relive, reconnect, reimagine. Check them out at www.relivethemoments.com. Now back to the show. What was the process? I mean, obviously, it's a long process. It could be a lifetime process. But that moment when you were able to identify that pain in that inner child, what was that like? Can you identify that moment?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen. The name of the biggest brand I'm working on is called Relive the Moments. So for me, life is a series of moments, and I love reliving them. The moment was extremely painful because maybe it wasn't so painful. It was actually eye-opening. I describe it to people that, hey, at some point I became colorblind, right? I'm not physically colorblind, but at some point I became colorblind. And then in that moment where it changed, all of a sudden I could see color.
Yeah.
So if you imagine yourself not being able to see color and then all of a sudden seeing color, it changes things. Actually, the most recent experience that people can probably relate to is that if you had COVID and you lost your sense of taste, like the original COVID, and then all of a sudden you could taste things again, like that's how it was for me when I learned that, hey, I don't have to be on this island by myself, right? There's amazing, beautiful people around me that I can spend time with, that I can trust, that I can be vulnerable with, that I can lean on. And then I started doing research on how do you fix this thing. The only way that I found to fix it is through therapy.
Yeah.
So I did extensive time in therapy. And actually, what really changed for me is I changed the way I did therapy. So in therapy, if you've ever been to therapy, you would know that you go there, maybe it's 45 minutes, let's say, and you're talking 40 out of 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. They ask you how your week's going, how is it doing, and you're just talking. I found myself mainly complaining. I have so much pressure, I have so much time, I don't have enough time, I have so many things to do, all these things. One day I went to my therapist and I said, all right, listen, we're changing this up. She says to me, John, what are you talking about? I want to graduate. She looked at me and she said, what? I said, yeah, man. Yeah, doc, I want to graduate. So from here on in, okay, I want to be your first alumni. I know it's not part of your business model. I know it's great if I stay here, okay, forever, but I want to be your first alumni. So when I come in, I'll give you a 5-minute specific update of what happened last week so you're caught up. And then I want to spend the other 40 minutes you telling me why this happened, how it happened, and how I can heal from it, and what tools I can use in my everyday when you're not around to get me through it.
Yeah.
And that's when I learned that the first pee in the mattress from that famous book, parable, whatever it was that I have an Irish twin. My brother's 10 months younger. And when he was born with a hole in his heart. So bonding, I had 10 months of bonding inside my mother's body. And then I had about 3 months of bonding after that because she had a bond with the child that was inside of her. And then when he came out, okay, she had to go to the hospital with my dad all the time. So that's how I got my grandma. Apparently they put me in the arms of my grandmother and I just naturally as an infant, she becomes my mom. So, or animalistic, she becomes like my mom. Mm-hmm. So when I changed therapy, it allowed me to hear my inner child, and now I can see color again.
That's wild, the way you just kind of lay that out. And it's funny, like with the inner child work that, you have to do in therapy and the way you described your approach to therapy. Now that I mean, obviously that's untraditional, but it makes sense to kind of do that because, yeah, a lot of times you're in therapy and you're just complaining. One of the things for me, it's like when I was able to identify the inner child that was in pain, it also allowed me to really just identify patterns of behaviors, ranging from maybe the age of 9 and how they developed as an adult and negative patterns and how these negative patterns really were just rooted in an unhealed inner child, fear, and, for me, a lot of anger. When you look at the not the flaws, but the inner child work that you had to do, what damage do you feel like it caused along the way? And now what do you do to kind of prevent that? I mean, obviously you're in therapy and you're doing the work. But for me, I look back and I was like, I reacted to a certain situation because of that deep-seated pain. What moments in your life can you see were a direct result of just not untreated, painful inner child?
So you mean like what pain that I've gone through before I healed the inner child, or how has it been post healing the inner child?
Well, kind of I was able to see that the way that I treated people, particularly in my immediate family, my relationship with my dad, my relationship with my mom, how I was transactional in certain relationships was really a direct effect of just kind of protecting myself and deep-seated trust issues and pain, and how I feel like for most of my life I was unable to connect with anybody until recently. And, obviously that's spurred from my sobriety journey and really looking within and peeling back the layers. And now I feel, connections with people that in a way that I never was able to before. So I guess what I'm asking is when it comes to relationships, right? Because I think, one of the biggest things when have that untreated inner child, and I mean, at the end of the day, we're calling untreated trauma, let's be honest. Yeah. When you have that untreated trauma, how did you see it affect relationships before and relationships after?
So I love the saying that people say, a zebra can't change its stripes. You're right. But you confused me for a zebra. I wasn't a zebra. I just got dirty. So I was born this beautiful, wholesome child. And then somewhere in long life, like I got corrupted and I got painted like a zebra, right? Until I started to heal that inner child. And now my real animal is out, right? So you can change because you're not born the way that you then get painted and then you are. So pre-healing, I was extremely transactional, super disconnected. I would go to a let's say I was at a wedding. I'm at a wedding. I walk up to you, right, and introduce myself and find out what you do. And let's say you were a teacher. At the particular point of life when I was in that wedding, this example, let's say I was selling promotional products, okay, which you had no value to me whatsoever. Right. Think about that statement. It's such a fucked up statement. I walk up to you. I find out what you do for a living. You're a teacher, okay? And because I can't make money off of you or I can't sell you something, I equate you with zero value. There had to be at least a decade that I go back where I was so transactional. And because I was always nice and I had a lot of bravado, it was all masked that no one would ever accuse me of that, right? That transactional side of it. Maybe there's a few that would notice it, but most would never. So I couldn't be present, by the way, right? So there's a great way that I found scientifically to be present. Because what do they say? They say that anxiety is about the future, depression is about the past, right? So stay in the present moment as much as you can, and it's called the present, right? Because it's a gift. But it's really hard to stay in the present moment, especially with social media and cell phones and everything. But if you look at your feet, so the saying is be where your feet are. If you literally right now look down at your feet, then say to yourself, like, I'm looking at my feet right now. I got brown shoes on. There's a wood floor here. I look up. I'm in a podcast studio. I'm here with you, Adam. Like, I'm present. Okay? Now, that automatically tricks your brain into making you in the present moment. You might not be able to keep it there, but it gets you to the present moment. Mm-hmm. I learned that during all of that therapy and healing the inner child, right? And these are the tools that I got for graduation to then use it afterwards. So now I'm always connected. I mean, I'm even worse. I'm notoriously bad at time. I'll allow you to steal time from the other person that I'm supposed to meet afterwards, right? Because I'm sitting here so present with you that I lose time, right? Time for me is gone because I'm living in the moment, making sure that I maximize this moment and absorb it as much as possible. And you have tremendous value to me, right? As a teacher in that example, because you're just a human doing great things. So again, for me, post healing the inner child, I've taken all the tools that I learned. Okay. Like I said, I graduated, so I'm no longer in therapy. But I have all those tools in place. Okay. So for example, every single morning I wake up and I read, I got to think of the name of the book, but it's like an inspirational book where it's basically January 1st, February, right? Goes through the whole year, 365 days. And I've read it for the last like 10 years.
It's like a daily reflections book.
Yeah, it's like a reflections book, but like every day it's something. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing. So I've read January 1st for 15 years almost. And you just go through it. Because I learned from a neuroscientist that the first thing you should do in the morning is inject something positive into your brain. Yeah. Okay? So there's no guessing. I open my phone, I might see an email, it might not be good. Text messaging might not be happy, right? In this case, this book always sets the tone for my day. All right, then you get up and do your routine, and I always make sure that I have some sort of fresh air immediately, right? Lucky enough, I live in a house. When I used to live in an apartment, thank God there was a terrace. I'd walk outside, look at the sun, take a deep breath, and say something that I'm grateful for, right? So I start my morning off with the read and then gratitude. And then from there, whatever happens for the rest of the day, doesn't matter. And these are the little tools that I was given to start the day. Not to mention there's a ton of tactical tools that you can take, like be where your feet are, throughout your day when the times come tough because you can't call your therapist or the friend you're supposed to call that's supposed to be there for you. They don't answer their phone, right? It just spirals you down negativity. So I have probably 6, 7 different things in my toolbox before I hit the emergency button of like, call everybody that you can until someone answers.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed to have those.
It's funny because like that toolbox is so important, obviously, to get through like the hardest times. And, you know, for me, you know, some of my hardest times, I didn't have a toolbox. And, you know, one thing that me and you have always bonded upon is we both lost a parent. And, you know, I think I do mark my life as like before losing mom and after losing mom, and how that's like a major turning point, obviously. That was actually one of the first real conversations me and you ever had when you were talking about your father.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of value out of it because you were really vulnerable and you were really just. It was a different. It was. I love seeing the human parts of people. You know, can we talk about how that pivotal moment has shaped you?
I think losing my dad gave me a sense of mortality, right? Because when you're a child, you don't think about death. Like my grandma died, and that was really like the closest person to me. So I got a little taste of that. Actually, I got a big taste of that when she died, my grandmother. But then when my dad died, it's like, okay, shit, I'm gonna die someday because I have kids, right? It's like I never thought of myself as my dad. I thought of myself as a dad, right? Not my dad, but a dad. But when you lose that parent, I think it's where it's your first superhero. Even if your parents are not good to you later on in life, right? When you can remember things, they're not bad as an infant, right? So your first superhero is your mom and your dad. So as soon as I lost my dad, I think it gave me a sense of hey, time is not infinite. So start really doing things with a purpose. Going back to dribble with a purpose, like do things with a purpose. Like why are you working on a Saturday? When my dad passed, I stopped working Saturdays. Why are you working on a Saturday? Okay, you have kids, like get it done Monday through Friday. Like you can get it done. You leave it to Saturday because you know you're working, but now stop working on a Saturday. Spend the time with the kids because time is not infinite. So that probably was the biggest lesson I learned from there is like really start doing things with a purpose, or second to that, ask yourself why. Like maybe you don't have a purpose. Like I'm working on a Saturday for what reason? Because I got a lot of work to do. Can you do the work on a Monday through Friday? Yes. So then why are you doing it on Saturday? Is it a crutch? Is it a thing that makes you feel better? Like why? And then when you realize that it's nothing, then there's no purpose of working on Saturday.
I feel like you kind of you answer that in a just like kind of just appreciating what you like. It made you live even more in the present.
Well, I think one of the things. So all the stuff we talk about today, and you and I in general have these conversations when you're here. We go through life with so many. This person's different. That person's different. Like there's 8+ billion people on the planet, and like grains of sand, we're all uniquely different in one way or another.
Yeah.
But we all have one thing. Okay, one thing that is exactly the same. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. Okay, 1,440 minutes in a day. We all have the ability to maximize that day, okay, or maximize the minutes, if you will, to whatever that means to you. And I feel like learning that time is the most important commodity or the most important asset we have. Once you learn that, and again, to your question about my dad, it taught me about time. Him dying taught me about time. And I wish I learned it earlier.
Yeah.
I wish I had a mentor that was like, hey, no matter what you do, kid, no matter how hard you work, how much money you make, how successful you are, how unsuccessful you are, no matter what you do, just remember one thing. Just remember the number 1440. 1,440 minutes in a day was the most powerful number that I saw on a sign one day, and it just stuck with me forever.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like time is the ultimate commodity at the end of the day. You know, when you reflect on, you know, your entrepreneurial journey, your journey with your family, fatherhood, when you think about the word purpose, right? I think it's kind of all, it can be either all encompassing or it can be very specific. What is your approach to leading with purpose?
Well, I think you have to get to the origin first. Like, why? Like, why are you doing it? Because I think purpose is such a profound word
Yeah.
that sometimes you get stuck. Like, you asked me once, what's your true purpose? It's hit me across the face. Like, I don't know. I don't even know if I'm good enough to have a true purpose.
Yeah.
I have many purposes, right? So starting off with the why, like, why do this? Why open another company as opposed to having a job and get a paycheck, right? Why, I don't have to open this new company. So when I opened the new company, I asked myself that scenario, like why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Okay, one, I love what I do and I love the people I work with, so I'm very grateful for that. Two, I started thinking about, well, what kind of company do you want to build? And what's the purpose of the company? Obviously, the company's purpose, single purpose, is to generate enough revenue, okay, to change the world of the people that work in it. But if we can be big enough, or my team is going to kill me for saying that because I use the word if. If's the biggest word in the dictionary that I don't use. When we do that, when we become big enough, that world expands.
Yeah.
It's not just the people that work in the company, but it's the people that we can touch, right? We have a school program coming out. We have a sports program called The Winning Moments, and it's all about kids. You'll see the theme for me right now is all about kids. Right? Obviously, I had a troubled childhood that I had to get through. I had my kids are going through a troubled childhood, or troubled childhood compared to me is tough, but they're going through the divorce and the rest of it that I put them through. So my theme, everything you'll start to see about all our programs and reliving the moments in life is all about these kids who are so innocent. So finding the purpose of why to do this business and why to go through the grind again, it took me a minute.
Yeah.
It took me a strong day, for that matter, of questioning why. And then I realized, like, a life is made up of a series of moments. We're really good at capturing those moments, especially with these devices. We're not so good at reliving them until it's too late. So I started building out things that make it easy to relive these moments. There's these powerful moments, like the ones we're having right now, so you don't forget them.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people take important moments for granted. And, you know, oftentimes you don't realize the significance of a moment until after it's already gone. And, you know, that's happened to me in my life. When it comes to trying to remind people to just kind of savor these moments, and obviously through Relive the Moments, you know, you're giving them the tools to be able to. You know, what is, like, how do you, you know, spread that message just outside of what you do professionally? And, you know, at the end of the day, like, I feel like in order to relive a moment fully, like, you need to have a reflective, kind of like a reflective approach to things as well.
So I stay curious forever, right? You ask me a question, I usually will ask you a question back because I want to get deeper into what the question means, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you asking? What are you really asking? We live in a very surface world.
Yeah.
Okay, I found recently there's a very interesting stat that if you want to be a successful commercial on TikTok or a content creator,
Yeah.
you have 7 seconds. 7
To get their
seconds to get them.
attention. Yep.
7 seconds.
I think it's even shorter than that, man.
Yeah,
I think it's like 3.
3 seconds is for your viral nature,
The
your
hook,
first thing.
yeah.
But you have 7 seconds, a max of 7 seconds. Just think about that for 3 seconds. Okay, in 3 seconds, what can I say to you? Hi, how was your day? I mean, 3 seconds, I got to catch your hook. So I think it really comes down to not being so surface,
Yeah.
right? I really break it down to time, because to experience a moment, you have to be present. To be present, you have to be willing to take that time to listen to the person, talk to the person, not think about your phone, not pick up your phone, not think about what you have to do tomorrow or what happened to you yesterday. Stay in that present moment. And then from there, it really comes down to, how do I capture that in my brain?
Yeah.
Because the other problem, Adam, we have is, and scientifically, I learned this from Miss Neuroscience, which I love her. I have no idea what her name is, but I sat next to her at a conference, and the speaker must be boring to her, and she was just teaching me all this crazy stuff. Our brain holds on to negative moments at a heavier weight than it does positive moments. This is why you hear like a bad day, even though it was one moment, right? Or you'll remember the bad things that happen in life more than the good things that happen in life. So
That's so true.
It is so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because scientifically, it's how the brain works, right? Why, even with social media, we need attack, hate, disagreement, negative things, because our brain is attracted to the negative comments. It feeds off of it.
Yeah. Well, they sell.
But it's right. But it's not just like back in the day when you had magazines and printed magazines and commercials, where the old Madman days where sex sells. Okay, yeah, that was true. In this case,
Fear sells.
Right. This is scientific,
It's
right?
fear-mongering.
Pain sells.
Yeah. Fear and pain.
Right. To sum it in one word, negativity sells. Right.
Okay.
Negativity sells. So for me, it's a matter of being with people in the present moment, trying to get them to capture that moment together. And then I'll send people text messages every day like, hey, not just how is it going, but you remember that time that we almost got caught stealing that 25-cent water from the bodega when we were 11, right? And my buddy, who I still talk to from that age, he's like, yeah, okay. I don't remember how we almost got caught. I got caught because you were faster than me.
Yeah.
Right? That's right. I learned that you don't have to be the fastest person in the group. You just can't be the slowest. So I try to help people relive those moments by reaching out every day to random people or people in my life that I'm connected to, and just spark something that we can talk about that is from the past.
I mean, I think it's funny because when you're reliving moments, you're reliving the moments, but really it's revisiting the feelings that accompany those moments. And I think a lot of the times when people, if you want to relive moments, there's going to be good moments, there's going to be bad moments, but the emotional pairing that comes with it, that's really what you're grasping. Like I think about, awesome times in the past, one that really rings about is when I was a kid and we went to Paris, and it was the time that my mom and my family, and we walked up the Eiffel Tower. And I remember that moment vividly because we were rooting for her. She was lagging behind everybody, and she was very persistent and wanted to get to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And it's funny because that's a moment that sticks out to me so deeply, to the point where I shared that moment at a funeral, at a eulogy, because it was a testament to her resilience and her perseverance and her wanting to move as a singular unit, as a family, and something. It just encapsulated everything that she lived by, and I could associate that moment with sadness because she's not here, right? But I don't. I associate it with just beauty in who she was, and I think that's also like something that's really important when you're reliving moments. It's even if it's a dark moment when you were going through it, now you could relive that moment and find a gift within it, and I think that's super important to do. So like I love the fact that like in order to be able to do that, something that you have kind of pounded away here today is you really do need to ground your feet into the present. Because if you're not grounded in the present, you can get sucked into that moment, and I think that's fucking awesome, bro.
Yeah, think about that moment with your mom, right? Like if you were, how old were you?
10.
All right, so 10-year-old
Maybe
kid.
12.
Okay, I know you now. All right, you're like I consider myself the Tasmanian devil.
Yeah.
Okay, as my cartoon character, where I'll run around like a tornado and then leave stuff behind. Right. Okay. You're like Speedy Gonzalez. Okay, You're constantly moving around, and every time that I talk to you, so I can imagine you as a 10-year-old kid with all that extra energy. You could have been to the top of that Eiffel Tower in seconds, and left your mom and your family behind. But for whatever reason, right, you guys kept that moment close.
Yeah.
And that keeping that close and staying present with the family, with the unit, allowed you to have that moment that you just beautifully relived with us. Thank you for that, by the way.
Absolutely.
And that's where, yes, being present. But listen, let's not kid ourselves. Being present is the hardest thing
So hard.
that I ask someone to do in their life. That's why everything that I build today has to do with science, psychology, and humans. Okay, because we're all connected.
Yeah.
So be where your feet are is not just some term or some quote that I came up with to just have quotes in your name. No. Literally, if you just look at your feet, it forces your brain, it tricks your brain to be to the present moment. Okay, and that's where you can get to. And you asked me the question earlier about like, what tools do you use, right? How do you stay this way, or how do you do these things? And it was because of being curious, talking to the neuroscience, talking to my therapist, talking to people who are smarter than me.
Yeah.
I search for people that are smarter than me, which in a planet of 8 billion people is probably 7.9999 billion people that are smarter than me. So I'm lucky to have a vast sea of humans.
Big pool.
Big pool. But you can learn one thing from every person you talk to if you just stay present.
Yeah. No, I mean that's so accurate, bro. And yeah, being present is hard. It's not an easy task. But it's that toolbox that you use that helps you to stay present in that current moment. And, you know, obviously right now I'm like hyperactively present because I'm really drawn into this conversation. And, you know, I think that's also plays a big role when it comes to being present. It's who you surround yourself with, you know, because if you're not surrounding yourself with the people who are feeding the energy that aligns well with yours, then that fight or flight kind of instinct that humans are ingrained with can kick in. You know, I've noticed that where I'm in a room with someone who makes me feel uncomfortable, makes me feel less safe, or whatever it is, then my brain switches to how can I get out of the situation? How can I avoid them? Let me get out of here. You know, like all these different things. So it really comes down to like the mutual energy. And you know, I love what you said earlier. You said it beautifully where it's, you know, my job is to give out energy, not take it. And, you know, I really wish people approached it in that way more because I think when you're giving positive energy and that's how you are able to really change lives and have a good impact. Right?
I mean, listen, we could do a whole podcast on the subconscious.
Yeah.
But the way to sum up the subconscious in that case is debits and credits.
Yeah.
We're very good at debits and credits when it comes to money because we have to be to pay our bills. But if you take more from the universe than you give, then you are in debt and you have to pay that debt.
Yeah.
Somehow you have to pay that debt. And that debt is painful to pay. So for me, it's if you want one good thing to happen in your life, do 100. Give 100 to get one. It's never on time. It's never when you want it. But just wake up every day trying to give. And you will get in abundance if you can do that. But again, it's really hard. Like, I'm sure you've been through a lot of dark times. You know, you talk about being sober. If you are sober today, right, and you've gone through that journey, then obviously you had to hit rock bottom. Right? No, none of the addicts that I am friends with or know ever just wake up one morning and are like, yeah, nah, it's not for me anymore.
Today's my last day.
Yeah, you got to hit rock bottom.
True.
So to hit that rock bottom and then get back up, that's a beautiful moment in itself. And I think like that's where we start to learn a lot of give.
Yeah.
And one thing that I'll say that people forget is humans are contagious. We are contagious animals. Okay, so you're in a room full of people laughing. You don't even know what they're laughing about. You're just laughing with them. Like, oh, something's funny, yes? Let me get it on the funny side. You're in a room full of people crying. You find yourself start to figure like you're finding the memory of my lost dad or your lost mom or my lost grandma. And you're starting to cry because we see other people crying. So they have that thing that says your wealth is the 5 people you surround yourself with, right? Your average income is the same as the 5 most people you surround yourself with. I think if you just throw money out the window for a second and say, hey, listen, find the contagious people, right? Find the people that bring you the good energy, that create the laughter, that create the safety. And like you said it perfectly, if you're in a room that's not that way, then it's unsafe. Find the exit. Find the exit as fast as you find the exit if the room's on fire. Okay? If you don't have to be in there, don't be in there. So, yeah.
That's so true, man. Listen, I'm really grateful to have you here today. And, you know, last minute also, I think I texted you yesterday and I was like, hey, you mind filling in? And I usually close by asking just a few questions about purpose. And what does the word purpose mean to you?
It's the why. Why you do things, right? So I go back to the dribble with the purpose. Why am I doing this? What is it's synonymous to me? What's the purpose of doing it? And if it doesn't have value, then I don't contribute it with a useful purpose, and I stop doing it.
What 3 tools do you use in order to stay grounded in your purpose?
It's a really interesting question. I think it's more of some of these might not actually be tools. Like I use gratitude. I consider gratitude a tool. I think if you stay grateful, then it's the number one tool in your toolbox that you can use every day, anywhere you are. The next is my children, right? So my children are not a tool, but they're a light that helps me leverage these following tools that I do on a daily basis. So reading in the morning, okay, saying something that I'm grateful for, and then ending the day with the same way that I started it. Okay, read something positive and say something I'm grateful for, because people think while you're sleeping, you're just sleeping.
Yeah.
It's the second half of your day. So 3 tools: read something in the morning that's positive, say something you're grateful for, okay, and then end the day the same way you started the day. That's how I keep my purpose.
I love that. And what advice would you give to someone on the journey of finding their purpose?
So I love the statement, life is long. Actually, one of my favorite quotes is, live like you'll die tomorrow, but plan like you'll live forever. My number one, and I hate giving advice, so I'm not going to call it advice. My number one thing, I guess, that I would say is never lose focus on finding your purpose. Okay? And purpose comes in many different forms and many different ways, and we also have many purposes, right? I think it's hard to find one purpose. But when you find a purpose that makes you feel good, then dive really, really deep into that purpose, right? One of the things you said to me about purpose is you love the idea of helping people. So you've dove in deep into that. We don't have to go wide. We think about that wrong. We need to go deep. So when you find a purpose, go as deep as you can. And then if it's already done, find another purpose. But just keep going.
John Lim, love that. You're the man. Appreciate you. I would like you to take a moment and feel free to talk to my audience, tell them how they could reach you, what you got coming up next, and anything additionally.
So, yeah, it was a pleasure being on here with you. I really enjoyed it. Again, we could probably talk for 4 hours about this stuff. I find what you do fascinating. For me, it's really easy to get a hold of me. We have relivethemoments.com. Our social media is relivethemoments_. And from there, you can DM me directly, or you can text John to the phone number 88500. You'll get my business card with all of my information on it, text messaging, phone number, email. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm an open book. And Adam, man, thank you for having me on.
Appreciate you, John. And you can always reach out to me to get in touch with John. You can reach out to me to get in touch with Claudio Valenzuela, my producer here at Kaya Visions, who does nothing but the best for not only me, but all the clients he treats with just like the best amount of care. So feel free to reach out directly to me. Thank you, everyone who has continued to listen, who has continued to engage, who has continued to help me grow this community of purpose-driven individuals. And I'm just like really grateful. Thank you so much, guys. And till next time.